Oh, it is. It is. Another episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We are taking you up till 1 p.m. every day, 12 noon. We go live, my friends. And as David points out in the chat, that time of year in the NFL season, all the hopes and dreams alive and well. I responded early September. My hope springs eternal each and every year, man. Even though my Canes have already lost. When it comes to my Dolphins, as far as I'm concerned, 17-0 coming up. Oh, and yes, Louis D. Sung, we will get to that. We will get to the captain thing. I don't think I've ever seen the chat this lively, like 8 seconds into the live stream. So thanks to everyone for stopping in. Make sure while you're in here, whether you're watching us live or you're watching us later on in the day, you smash that like button on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Hello, Ray Grullon, one of our great viewers and listeners as well. So make sure you guys are smashing that like button here. And I want to let you guys know we are brought to you, as always, by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Oh, you know I love that seafood. The seafood is so fresh at the Quarterdeck. I love the oysters and Maine lobster, the sushi. You can build your own poke bowl, 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. When you go to the Quarterdeck on a college football Saturday and an NFL Sunday, you can get the 5 for $15 buckets, ice cold imports, ice cold hard seltzer. It is the way to go at the Quarterdeck, and catch every UFC pay-per-view fight there with zero cover charge. To peep their menu before you go or to find the location nearest to you, visit quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And we are brought to you by the official sports book of Donno Daily. That is BetUS. Now is the time to sign up, man. NFL, it starts tomorrow, my friends. The season is almost here. You want to play some wagers and have fun with us. Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS, and join now for a 125% sign-up bonus if you sign up with our code 5RSN125 and bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. Now, and I made Louis D. Sung hungry. Yeah, man. Hey, check out the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill today. So Louis had asked, he said, let's get this captain thing over with, Donno. Honestly, I don't have a lot to say. So the Dolphins announced on Twitter the captains for the 2021 season, and it's mostly veterans and a lot of players who will probably be backups, like by the end of the year if they're not already backups. And Brian Flores is a little quirky. Brian Flores values veterans more than he values on-field production sometimes. People are going to make a big deal out of this. Okay, they're going to make a big deal out of this because of a name that's not on this list. So the Dolphins captains, Elandon Roberts, Jesse Davis, Clayton Fejedelem. I think I'm saying that properly. Every time I see that name, I get in cold sweats. It's ridiculous how that name is spelled. Mac Hollins and Jason McCourty. So, okay, who's not on that list? Oh, my God. Don't let Colin Cowherd see this. Don't let Colin Cowherd see this list of Miami Dolphins captains. Don't let Skip Bayless see this. You're telling me Tua Tagovailoa, the starting quarterback, the franchise quarterback, is not one of the Dolphins captains? Sound the alarm! Oh, no, guys, who cares? This is the same thing. This goes back to, we had that conversation with Louis D. Sung yesterday about how we shouldn't overanalyze the depth chart. We also shouldn't overanalyze the captains. And let me also remind you, honestly, I think pro football is the sport where being a captain means the least. Every team has like 100 of them. Some teams change captains week by week. I mean, if you're the captain of an NHL team, that's a big fucking deal. I mean, captain of an NHL team, that's an actual leader in the dressing room. Captain of an NBA team, I guess that means something. Captain of a soccer team means something that comes with a lot of responsibility. If you were to go with me through, Miami Dolphin teams of years past, who was the captain in 2011, who were the captains in 2004, I couldn't name you a single one. Like, I could not care less who the captains are, but this is, oh no, and Lewis says Florio is all over it. Oh, so he's all overanalyzing that. Hey, how come the starting quarterback of this team is not a captain? Does that mean the Dolphins are trading for Deshaun Watson? Does that mean the Dolphins don't believe in Tua? It's one of the most ridiculous conversations you can have. David says an NFL team should name a person a captain that's not even in the NFL. Well, you mean how the Miami Heat have Dan Marino's jersey retired in the arena? Maybe the Dolphins should name Dwayne Wade the captain. Are you trying to say something like that? So I saw a piece this morning in Bleacher Report that got me thinking, and it's why I've encouraged people already on social media to weigh in on this. So Bill Barnwell at ESPN Plus, he went through all 32 NFL teams, and for all 32 teams, he made the case for why that team is going to be in the Super Bowl this year. What has to happen for all these teams to get into the Super Bowl this season? Here's the case he made for the Miami Dolphins. And I want us to make our case. I got some awesome responses on Twitter already. I'm going to have Sean Stanley make his case. I'm going to make my case. Here was Bill Barnwell's case from ESPN. And he notes a couple of statistical probabilities here according to the Football Power Index. The Miami Dolphins' chance to win the Super Bowl, so you're telling me there's a chance, is at 2.5%. Now, I will tell you that is a 0.1% higher than the New England Patriots, who are at 2.4%. So you have that going for you. The Dolphins have a higher statistical probability to make the Super Bowl. Their chance of making the playoffs, I'll take these odds, 54.3%, better than a coin flip. I'll take that. So here's the case that Barnwell makes for the Dolphins getting to the Super Bowl. The Patriots offshoot being built in Miami by former New England assistant Brian Flores has similar ideas, and having gone from tanking for most of the 2019 season to 10-6 last year, Dolphins fans rightfully have playoff expectations this upcoming season. Tua Tagovailoa, he says, didn't look like the highly coveted quarterback we saw coming out of Bama in his rookie season, but I expect things to be different in a new scheme and 1 year further removed from his serious hip injury. I feel you, Bill. That's rational commentary about Tua. You don't get that a lot. The ceiling for the Dolphins relies on Tagovailoa, he says. Rookie first-round receiver Jalen Waddle and Xavier Howard, whose primary concern as one of the league's best defensive players is staying on the field. We've seen quarterbacks such as Patrick Mahomes, Carson Wentz, and Lamar Jackson ride massive second seasons to MVP-caliber performances. 2 of their teams won the Super Bowl. It might be too simplistic, he says, but if Tagovailoa makes similar strides, it would hardly be surprising if the Dolphins followed suit. Let me make you my case for how the Dolphins get to the Super Bowl this year. Number 1, I trust their head coach. Brian Flores, great head on his shoulders. I trust this man, and I can't say that for a lot of Dolphins coaches over the past 2 decades. I trust Brian Flores. Tua is going to get better, and there's such overwhelming speed and playmaking ability at the skill positions. Defensively, the Dolphins were already awesome last year. Keeping Xavier Howard was gigantic. I'm glad they didn't trade him away. Adding Jalen Phillips through the draft is going to be an X factor for this team. And going back to the offense, and Barnwell touched on this a little bit, you're going to have collaborative offensive play calling from your co-offensive coordinators, where they're actually going to try and formulate a playbook and a game plan to fit your quarterback. You're going to see a lot more RPO. You're going to see it playing to Tua's strength. So the Dolphins, to me, are going to make a significant stride from last year to this year. And let's also remember last season, I know people love to rip on Tua. One of his best games was played against the Kansas City Chiefs, who went on to play in the Super Bowl, didn't win it last year, but he played very well against the Chiefs. The Dolphins hung with them. It was a shootout down here in South Florida. So I think the Dolphins are going to show you even further this year they can hang with and even beat some of the big guys. So that's my case. I trust this coaching staff. I trust this quarterback, and the team has gotten better roster-wise. I can make that strong case for the Dolphins making the Super Bowl. Sean Stanley, rise. Come to the stand and make your case, Sean. What is your case for the Dolphins being a Super Bowl team this year?
I mean, I trust in Brian Flores and Chris Greer and what they're doing. Tua has weapons. I think the big thing is health, is staying healthy. The receivers, 1, can they stay healthy? And then 2, I think the defensive backs need to stay healthy, because if X goes out or, Jones or any of those go down, that depth, Igbo, he hasn't looked good. So I think
you're not making a strong case here. Like I'm already losing you.
I feel like I don't think we're there yet, man. I don't know if I can make a case for the Dolphins. I mean, and KC has to, fly into the abyss. Buffalo has to get injured, I believe, because I think Buffalo is a Class AFC. I don't know if I have a good case for them.
I'm never calling you to the stand again.
But
I don't know about anyone else. Lewis Sung writes, but my crystal ball isn't working, so I'm going to wait until the season starts before making even a remote judgment of any kind. That's way too rational.
Smart
Way
man.
too rational.
Smart
So,
man.
but pull up some of these responses, Sean. I put out there on Twitter. If I asked you to make your case in 280 characters or less as to why the Dolphins can get to the Super Bowl this season, what would it be? David Dwork says, I will sell my soul. I appreciate that. Yeah, Dave is about my age. He's a good friend of mine, long-suffering Dolphins fan. I appreciate it. Now, Alfredo Arteaga made a strong case here. Defense, excellent quarterback, big play capability, elite special teams, extreme health, which you always need, and a little luck. Yeah, little luck comes in the form of luck usually is not only is your team very healthy, which is kind of a lucky thing in the NFL, because to make it through now 17 regular season games with most of your important players, it takes good fortune to get that. And then luck also comes in other teams having injured players. You know, when the Dolphins won the division back in 2008 with Chad Pennington, not only did Pennington have a really good year, but you remember the Dolphins were going up against backup quarterbacks left and right, like including Matt Castle played that season for Tommy Brady. Like the Dolphins were going up against backup after backup after backup. They got a little lucky, and that's fine because sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Oh, I love this response. This was actually a really good one from our guy, Dan Cilio, who said,
I said the same thing Alfred said. He just said it a lot better than me.
yeah, you made it sound like they're not even going to make the playoffs. Like I've never.
Alfredo says, "Oh no, I got them making the playoffs." But Alfredo said the same thing: extreme health, a little luck. I mean, that's the same thing.
He was just more concise and optimistic.
Yes, he had doing 108 characters. You didn't give me a limit. I had to sit here and ramble.
Oh my God. Alfredo Arteaga, or no, sorry, Dan Cilio. I like this one. If you're going to make the case for the Dolphins getting to the Super Bowl, he says because all 53 players bought tickets to the Super Bowl. What a hater. The 305 Pancake writes, elite defense, quarterback that won't lose you games, explosive weapons, great coach. I like it. My buddy Johnny Delicoli writes in, because I drafted Parker and Tongo Vailoa in fantasy. Well, good luck to you. And that was another one. He hosts the Calcio Guys show, and one of his co-hosts, Adriano, was messaging us yesterday that he drafted Jalen Waddle. So we got people. They live in Canada. These guys, so all around the world, they're drafting Dolphins to their fantasy teams. Sasha writes in Don Shula. Now Don recently passed away, so maybe the spirit of the coach will guide them to a 17-0 season. I like that. We'll dedicate this season to Tua. This defense is going to make you waddle, wrote John. Turnovers, transplanted South Florida sports fan wrote. Yeah, I assume you mean forcing them, not committing them. You do have a defensive back, Xavier Howard, who forced or picked up 10 interceptions last year. If he can even get 8 or 9 this year, you're in very good shape. Peyton Brown writes concisely. Flores, Coach Flo can get you there. RWB writes Tua, 36 or more touchdowns, 8 or less interceptions. D, top 5 in turnovers, and run D. Waddle plays 15 games minimum, 60-plus receptions, 8 or more touchdowns. So that was well said, very statistically specific, and I appreciate that. So people are making their cases for how the Miami Dolphins get to the Super Bowl. Now, in a moment here, we're going to be joined, and we're going to talk some Miami Hurricanes with my guy, David Eversole. And I want to remind you guys, it was all in love, okay? I'm not going to say I ripped Dave yesterday because I honestly did. I ripped myself. Look, would you say that's accurate, Sean? Because when I was talking about this piece that Dave wrote at 5reasonsports.com, you know, I made it very clear that I have no interest in reading it, although I did read it this morning, I will admit. And as expected, it was hard medicine for me to take. So I wasn't ripping Dave. I was ripping myself because I would rather.
You made that clear.
Yeah, I would rather pretend that it's still 2001. So let's bring him on now. The man, the myth, the legend from 5 Reasons Sports and Miami Sports Break, David Eversole. Now, here's the title of the piece that he wrote. It's called Accept This as the New Standard for the Miami Hurricanes. And Dave, my rebuttal is, no, I will not accept it. But how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Alex, man. Thanks for having me on so much. Appreciate it. But it is tough to see the state of the program as it is right now, but I think expectations leading into Alabama for some people were just completely unrealistic. I know we had some fun with it on the pregame and everything, but, you know, it is what it is at this point.
So We watched what happened to Miami against Alabama this past Saturday, and it's become an all too familiar feeling because, like in recent years, when Miami has lined up against Clemson a few times, it's basically gone like that. I mean, last year Miami plays against North Carolina, who's not a powerhouse, and UNC puts up 62 points and rushes for like 580 combined yards against Miami. So we tend to see when the Canes go up against the big programs in recent years in college football, there's just this really wide talent gap. So, like, Dave, how did we get to that point? Because I referred to myself yesterday as Uncle Rico, but instead of living in 1982, I'm living in 2001, and I refuse to turn the page on '01. So how do we, in a mere 20 years, how do we go from basically being Alabama, maybe even better than Alabama 20 years ago, to now being a team that doesn't look like we belong on the same field as Alabama?
Well, it started with all the mediocrity we've had since basically Butch Davis and the Larry Coker era. Obviously, Coker took over a great team and did what he should have done with that team and go to back-to-back national championships, winning one, of course, in 2001. But then you saw the real drop-off from Randy Shannon to Al Golden. That whole regime era just really set this program back in terms of on-the-field performance. They recruited well, but it just seemed like there was always something in their way, distracting them, taking away from the product on the field, always a cloud of uncertainty hanging over them. Will they lose scholarships? We're not going to talk about the specifics. Everybody who's followed this team for this long knows what happened to them after the successes we had early in the 2000s. But you touched on the talent gap, but to me, it seems like more of a coaching and organizational gap from the AD down through Diaz and the coaching staff. Plain and simple, they showed once again after a full off season to prepare. You've got Derek King back under center. You've got a lot of weapons on offense. You've got what should be a pretty good defense. And you come out and just get the break speed off you 27-0 before the game even really starts. And we've seen that time and time again. The more time Miami has off, the more time they have to sort of mess it up. And I just look at that as a systematic failure to the players. If you looked at them in the second half, that team was competing, and I was really proud of them. I think the players took a lot of pride in that game, and they're just said at some point it was enough. But you look at the first half, I mean, they're out of position. The play calling, a lot of people were playing Sunday morning quarterback, if you will. And listen, we can all second guess the coaches. The fact is that they call the game as they see it. I mean, they really don't care what we think. But I just think that coming out early and just showing that you don't belong right away sends that bad repetitive message again and again to the Miami faithful.
And I see this message that Ninja Viking writes in. Don't kill me, but dare I say, Manny Diaz is not very good. I think he has to go. But that in itself, Dave, is part of the problem because we've been saying that about basically every coach after Butch. Of course, Larry Coker, he wins a title his first year, should have had a title the second year as well. But then things started, to go down under his watch. And then we reached a point where we got to get rid of Coker. We can do better. We get rid of Coker. The next guy doesn't do better. He does worse. Right, Randy Shannon. We get rid of Randy Shannon. Al Golden comes in. He doesn't better. He doesn't do better. He does worse. Mark Richt, wasn't terrible for a little while there, but then he had that whole problem where he refused to update his coaching staff, and so he had to go. And Manny Diaz so far is not doing any better. So the problem is that it's easy for me, for Ninja Viking, for any Canes fan to say this coach has to go, we can do better. But the problem is the last half dozen times they've changed coaches, it hasn't gotten better. So what do we do here, Dave? How, and I know this is the most difficult question you've ever been asked, and maybe there's no right answer to it, but from the administration down, how do we fix Miami football?
Well, I think it has to become a priority again. If you look at these state institutions such as Alabama, University of Florida, obviously it's a whole completely not unlevel playing field. You have a small private school in the University of Miami that is not fiscally able to commit the money to build a program to the level of the Alabamas and Clemsons as it is structured right now. If you look at a team like Alabama, which is a very unrealistic, but you want to look at the standard, look at his coaching staff. Look at how it's ran like a business.
Yeah.
And Miami used to be about when Jimmy Johnson was here. This was the business of football, and there was no ambiguity about, oh, do we care about Miami football? Is the coach good? The fact is, you're getting what you pay for in bringing in a coach of Manny Diaz's stature. He's an above average defensive coordinator who's been thrust into the Power Five program at Miami in perhaps the best recruiting state in the country. And he's just not performing to the level the other coaches can, but it's not all his fault.
Yeah.
You have to look at, Blake James and every, ladder rung of that ladder within the University of Miami football program and the athletics department as a whole and say, what aren't we doing that these other teams are doing? Are we okay with this level of Miami football? Because we might just be working against the administration. The fact is, the administration, this is what they're putting out. This is what they're giving the University of Miami football program. So I think until the university gives more in terms of just, maybe bringing in somebody who's going to take the program to the next level. Because I think you've seen what Manny Diaz can do, and it's a plateau right now. You're only going to get so far with him unless something dramatically changes, and I don't know if that's possible right now.
It was actually it was a pretty piss poor opening weekend for the entire ACC. Not just for Miami. I mean, obviously, Clemson had a very tough game as well, but they did lose to Georgia. North Carolina, who was the odds-on favorite to win the Coastal, they actually have already lost a game in the Coastal. They lost to Virginia Tech on the road. The AP rankings are out, and Miami, they hang in there. They're still ranked, right? They dropped from 14 to 22. They're still in the mix, and they're actually ranked now in front of North Carolina after losing to Virginia Tech. But we got the question in the chat: if we lose to Appalachian State, what happens next? I'm having a hard time even allowing myself to entertain that thought. But obviously, you're not going to fire a head coach or legitimately put him on the hot seat for losing to Alabama, no matter how lopsided it is. But if Miami were to lose to like one of Appalachian State or Michigan State coming up, then is the hot seat legitimate? What happens after that?
Oh, the seat's already hot for Manny Diaz. I kind of think it's ACC championship or bust for Diaz this year, which in reality, that should have been the expectation. Miami wasn't the 14th best team in the country. I think preseason rankings are the biggest hunk of garbage that's out there. I just think it's arbitrary. It's what somebody thinks a team might do on paper. And Miami is a better team than North Carolina. They lost a lot of frontline guys, thank God, that ran over the Hurricanes last year. People are still having nightmares about Carter Williams. So, and they lost obviously the quarterback as well. So Miami theoretically should be penciled in for the ACC championship game every year. And that's since they left the Big East, which I touched on that in my article. Miami is supposed to come into the ACC along with Florida State, and every year and just be the cream of the crop. Year after year, it should have been those two competing for titles. The fact is, programs like Clemson simply put in the coaching staff and built a winner over time. So all those years where Miami was treading water and on the decline, like you mentioned, teams like Clemson were getting better year after year, figuring it out, building that talent base, which Miami has too deep at every position group that can compete with Alabama. Alabama's 5-6 deep at every position group. Georgia, they just have the depth and they wear you out. So Miami has to find a way to build a winner, plain and simple. And I think Diaz definitely has to just set his sights on getting through the conference schedule right now. I don't think they're going to lose Appalachian State.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I really think Miami's going to take care of business there and with Michigan State as well. But as we've seen year after year in the ACC, there is no easy games for Miami anymore.
Are there anybody on this roster you expect to have breakout seasons this coming year? Like, I think it's going to be a big one for Xavier Restrepo. I think Keontre Smith could end up having a nice year. You saw some signs even in the Bama game, although the defense was a little bit all over the place. I think Will Mallory should have a massive year. I was really disappointed he only had 2 catches in the Bama game. I think he should have been targeted a lot more. But who are some of the guys you think are going to break out this year?
Well, I'm definitely like a lot of the weapons they put around King, but I'm going to look at the defense and Stevenson the corner.
Yeah,
He had a
good one.
great game. He's very physical. He seems to me he's got that dog in him. Like he's a hard, physical, tough corner. There's no reason that Ivy should be ahead of him on the depth chart at all. And I like the defensive tackles as well. Harrison Hunt, Silvera, those guys. I'm looking for that to kind of be the strength of the defense, especially in that front seven. But then Bubba Bolden, who had obviously that bad play in the opening game, he was another one of those preseason guys with a lot of hype as well. But on offense, obviously Rambo. I think Charles Rambo is going to be really, really good. And if they can get Mallory the football in space, he has the potential. We've seen him make those game-changing plays, and I was puzzled by that usage of him as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Mallory's poised for a breakout year, and somebody from the backfield has got. I was kind of disappointed in Cam Harrison that first game, so somebody like Chaney really has the talent to take over and kind of be that lead back for Miami. So I'm looking for a few of those guys to step up.
So you said it might be ACC or bust. In that case, it's probably going to be bust because I don't think even with Clemson out of the gates losing to Georgia, I think Clemson are still the class of the ACC. But do you think the Coastal is there for Miami, David? Do we get it done and win the division this year?
Yeah, I think that's the realistic. If they get to the championship game, I think that's enough for Diaz to get one more run at it with another good class coming in. And you've seen some of the kinks in the armor with Clemson, obviously, against a great Georgia defense. But that offense had a lot of struggles, and they couldn't put up anything against that Georgia defense. So there's going to be a little bit of maybe Clemson coming back to the pack. But the problem with the ACC, there's so much parity.
Yeah.
And any week, one of those teams could upset the other. And Miami hasn't shown that they're any better than those second-tier ACC teams. But they have to be. At this point, they have the talent. They have the experienced quarterback. They have the best quarterback in the Coastal and one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. So, to me, I think it's got to be at least an appearance in that championship game this year.
So I want everyone to check out David's story at 5reasonsports.com. It took me a while to convince myself, okay, now it's time to read this because I don't like to live in reality. I prefer to live in fantasy. But read his piece, 5reasonsports.com. Accept this as the new standard for the Miami Hurricanes. And let's hope it's not the standard forever. And David, you have an episode coming up today of Miami Sports Break, right? Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, we're going to be back here at 1 o'clock. Me and my partner, Jakari Givens, play D1 ball at Kansas. We have the Miami Sports Break a couple times a week. We're going to try to relive some of the positives from the Miami game and look ahead a little bit. A lot to talk about. So, appreciate the shout out. Make sure to follow me on social as well, David W. Eversole.
Keep up the great work, man, David. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate having me on, man.
Oh, no. Our pleasure. And that was good stuff. Did you read the piece, Sean? Because, again, and thankfully, David did a nice job of keeping it concise because I thought, I'm going to have to sit here and spend like 30 minutes reading the story telling me that my program is now a has-been program. But he actually, he put it out there. It was like a 7-minute read. And if it's a 7-minute read for me, it's probably like a 5-minute read for a lot of you because I read very slowly. So I'm actually glad that I read it. And I'm hoping that Julio Frank reads it and Blake James reads it. And because don't they always say that when you're growing up and like you're in high school, they say if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it. So Julio Frank needs to read that and study history.
There you go. Julio, read it. 5 minutes. Or Donno, 7 minutes, however you want to look at it.
Right, exactly. If you read as slowly as I do, it's about a 7-minute read. Brooklyn Rob, welcome in. He says, welcome to the Mush Hour with the king of all mushes, Alex Donno. Did not expect them to win, but at least they could have covered. Speaking of mushes, I had yesterday, and I did win a bet, a straight bet on Croatia in the European World Cup qualifiers. So thank you to Croatia. But then I had this big 5-team parlay where I took like 5 of the biggest favorites in the qualifiers yesterday and parlayed them together. And one of the teams on my parlay was Bosnia going up against Kazakhstan, and they were minus 400. And it was a freaking roller coaster. And because my parlay depended on that, and it was like, I think it was like 3-1 odds, the parlay. And so I'm about to win it. So Kazakhstan scored first and it was in the 51st minute. So then I'm in huge trouble. Oh my! And by the way, 2 countries, because it's Bosnia and Herzegovina. So you're telling me 2 countries together cannot beat Kazakhstan. So Kazakhstan takes the lead. Bosnia wakes up. They score 2 straight, 2-1, 94th minute. I'm in the clear. Freaking Kazakhstan, bad beat. They tie it up. They tied it up in the 95th minute, and they sunk my entire parlay. So yeah, Brooklyn Rob, my mush tendencies were in full display yesterday because the referee had the whistle in his mouth. Like he was ready to blow the whistle and end the game, and Kazakhstan scores to tie it up and sink my parlay in the 95th minute. Oh, thank God for Croatia that they won, but I was so close to hitting that parlay. But welcome in, Brooklyn Rob. Ninja Viking is in. David is in. I was so slow to figure this out. I didn't realize we had 2 Lewis Sungs in. So we've got senior and junior. And Lewis Sung from the 5 Reasons Sports Network, I did not know that he is the junior, and his father, welcome, Dad. Lewis Sung Sr. has also been in the chat. Yes. So we have the whole Sung family. We have multi-generations of Sungs in the chat. We love you guys equally. Ricky J. Mark is in. He's still over waiting for someone to sign Colin Kaepernick. God, how long was it? 2016 now? The last time that he played? Man, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that he hasn't gotten back into the league. But at this point, it's been 5 seasons. So I think we might be waiting longer. Let's see who else has hopped in to the chat. Ray Grullon has been in. Howdy, Donno. Everyone go Finns. Jones back to pass, intercepted by Xavier Howard. Oh, man. Ninja Viking, I'm so thankful for 5 Reasons Sports because ESPN and Fox Sports is nonstop Mac Jones simping when it comes to week 1. Tua is the GOAT. It is crazy the way that Mac Jones is covered compared to the way Tua Tagovailoa is covered. We had that Peter King quote yesterday that Peter King is picking the Patriots to be in the playoffs and not the Dolphins. And his reasoning is he doesn't know. He doesn't have a good gauge yet on Tua. He doesn't know what to expect from Tua. Yet you're already anointing Mac Jones, who's not played a single snap in the NFL. I guess it's nice when your head coach has that kind of a reputation. Just Belichick is a genius. I am here to remind you guys that without Tommy Brady, Bill Belichick has the same number of rings as me without Tom. Maybe, just maybe. Sean, one of the reasons why I'm hoping the stinking Pats miss the playoffs for the 2nd straight year is people can finally start to realize that Bill Belichick, he's got 6 rings. And, he's very short with the media. He wears sweatshirts that look like he got them at Goodwill. People refer to this guy as such a genius. And I'm not saying he's not smart, but you think the fact that he had the greatest quarterback of all time at the helm under center for his team for 18, 19 years, you don't think that may have helped him a little bit? And maybe that
smart. He drafted the right quarterback, right? Because
absolutely.
The season Tom Brady was out and injured. They went 11-5 and they missed the playoffs. Brady wasn't there last year. They missed the playoffs. Every year he hasn't been there. They haven't made the playoffs. He has not made the playoffs without Brady.
And he did draft the right quarterback, but he also passed on him 5 times before he drafted him. So
we don't look at that.
He got a little lucky.
Look, we don't look at that. He was just getting better value as it went along. That's all.
He knew. He's like, no one's going to draft this guy. I can wait till the 6th round.
Look at that body shot. Nobody's taking that guy until after the 6th round. Nobody.
Oh man.
And he went to Michigan too. So I mean,
yeah,
a lot of quarterbacks come out of Michigan.
By the way, the Dolphins are bidding farewell to Vince Beagle. So once he recovers from IR, he can sign with any team of his choosing. It's tough, man. They waived him with an injury settlement yesterday. Beagle has had some ups and downs. He was one of the few bright spots. 2019, the quote unquote tanking season. Obviously Ryan Fitzpatrick had a lot to do with that, but Vince Beagle as well. Some of the reasons why when a lot of you thought the Dolphins would win 0 games in 2019, the Dolphins actually won 5 games, and they still were able to draft Tua at 5th overall anyway. Brooklyn Rob writes in, Belichick has 2 rings as a defensive coach for the Giants. Well, yeah, and there he was riding Parcells' coattails, and he's always riding coattails, Belichick. If Mac loses, he is a rookie. If Tua loses, he is a bust. Such bias. Yeah. Nobody made excuses for Tua last year, except maybe a few Dolphins fans. By the way, in about 5 minutes, we're going to be joined and we'll talk some Dolphins with Jason Sarney from FinManiacs.com. I'm looking forward to cutting it up with him. I'll have Jason make his case, and hopefully he does a more convincing job than Sean Stanley, who convinced me the Dolphins are going to win 7 games. But I'm going to have Jason make his case for how the Dolphins
games. I got them going to the playoffs. I just didn't place it as elegantly as Alfredo Arteaga did. That's my problem.
I asked Sean Stanley to make his case for how the Dolphins get to the Super Bowl, and he starts talking about all their weaknesses instead of accentuating the strengths. So, like, you don't need to throw our dirty laundry out there, bro. Like, throw the clean laundry out there only.
The clean laundry is Buffalo needs to disappear and KC needs to disappear.
Oh man, I don't know. Did I send you, Sean, the tweet of Tyler Hero looking absolutely jacked? If I sent,
I don't think you did, but let me try to find.
You could probably find it real quick, right? I mean, I guess now I am fully standing for Tyler Hero, and I do think he's going to have a bounce back year. He had a little bit of a sophomore slump last year, and everybody, myself included, tried to trade Hero like 10 times throughout the season. But I'm looking at Tyler Hero in the gym. Maybe there is something to the nutritional value of those Chipotle bowls that he's been peddling, right? Where he gets I think he's got steak and chicken in the same bowl. So the combination of protein has led Tyler Hero to now looking incredibly muscular in the gym. So I guess I now have to be bullish on Tyler. Look at that. Dude, it's Mr. Olympia over here. The guy could enter a bodybuilding competition. So Hero's looking good. He's putting in the work in the gym. He's going to become more of a complete and consistent player.
I think they photoshopped his face on your body there, Alex Donno.
See, now that's how you earn the brownie points. That is how you earn the brownie points. In other NBA news, I guess I'm a Paul Pierce fan now. Don't kill me, okay? Let me explain why I'm now a Paul Pierce fan. So Paul Pierce spoke out. He spoke with Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated this week. He's doing the tell-all now. Because remember, ESPN fired him after he had that party that he was Instagram living from. Looked like an incredible time. He's at the poker table. He's getting massaged by strippers. He's smoking weed. He had this whole setup going. Like, I was watching those Paul Pierce videos. I'm like, this guy is living the life. But putting it out there on IG Live was probably not the smartest strategy. So he did get fired. And according to Pierce, him, being let go by ESPN had more to do with just that video. He said, quote, "I was done with them anyway. It wasn't a great fit. There's a lot of stuff over there that you can't say," he said. And you have to talk about LeBron all the time. He's Team Petty. And obviously we know Paul Pierce hates LeBron. We also know Paul Pierce, I don't think he hates him as much as KG does, but Paul Pierce also hates Ray Allen. Paul Pierce dislikes Dwayne Wade, and he and we butt heads on that from time to time, Paul Pierce disliking Dwayne Wade, but I love it. And it's right. Like ESPN, definitely, they have a quota and an agenda for their host that they have to basically mention LeBron's name 100 times on every studio show and every Sports Center episode. Like they have a quota that they need to meet for talking LeBron James. So I love that from Paul. And then Paul also, he defended his little party. He said, "Come on, I didn't do anything illegal," Pierce went on. And listen, he's right. We didn't see any of those, transactions that would imply prostitution. It was only kind of understood. We didn't get any hard evidence of that. He had the blunt, but I think he was in California where it's recreationally legal. So he was not breaking any laws there. He said, "Come on, I didn't do anything illegal," Pierce went on. "These mother bleepers in the Hall of Fame, some did cocaine. Battery. What the bleep did I do?" He said, "I was just having a good time." He said, "All the people coming after me, half you mother bleepers did the same S. You're just hiding it. And you all are married while you're doing it. I'm divorced," he said. I want to get a Paul Pierce t-shirt that just says, "I'm divorced." Although since I'm not divorced, it would be a little confusing if I wore that t-shirt. I probably shouldn't wear that. He said, "I'm divorced. I'm retired. I'm having fun." but him throwing a little shade at LeBron. I guess I'm now a Paul Pierce fan. I've always been a Jason Sarney fan. Jason Sarney from Fin Maniacs joins us here on Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Jason, it's been a minute, sir. Are you ready for the regular season? We're just 4 days away. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great, Alex. Even better now that I'm talking to you. And you mentioned me after LeBron. Mention one.
I go from the fake goat to the actual goat, who's there to my right.
I don't know about that.
Now, first things first, Jason. I was reading this piece at the start of the show by Bill Barnwell of ESPN, who went through all 32 teams, and he made the case for every team to why they can win the Super Bowl this year. And I made my case for the Dolphins. It has a lot to do with me trusting Flo, has a lot to do with the speed and talent at the skill positions. I think Tua is going to take a big step. I like the Dolphins defense a lot. Keeping Xavier Howard was gigantic. I think Jalen Phillips can be an X factor this year. So I'm feeling pretty bullish, and it's easy to feel that way before any regular season games are played, but I'm really high on the Dolphins right now. If I were to ask you to make your case to how the Miami Dolphins can get to the Super Bowl this year, what can you bring to me, man?
Well, you touched on the defense, and the defense is top 5 now. And then if Jalen Phillips could kind of work his way into that, imagine a baseball closer, Alex, where he's utilized for an inning, maybe a little bit more. They're going to deploy him on third down. They're going to deploy him on sack situation. So if he has 6 sacks, but plays 42% of the snaps, but most of them are on third down, and he changes the ball over, he basically gets that possession back, or at least helps. Enhancement to the defense. If guys like, Justin Coleman or Jason McCourty can bring their leadership and enhance the defense. I mean, there's better players that came in to both sides of the ball on a 10-win team that has 2 players 28 or older, 30 or older. 1, Jesse Davis.
Wow.
And they're a top 5 team in terms of average age. So they also have $62 million in salary cap next year. So things are so working in Miami's favor, but their team could only improve. And when you look on both sides of the ball, offensively, they got better. Defensively, they got better. And I swear to God, I believe this, not being a Miami homer, it's the best special teams trio in football. I will say it every time I'm on your show, because I love mentioning Jason Sanders, Michael Pilardi, and Blake Ferguson. They're all not just kicker, punter, long snapper. They're masters at their craft. Masters. So I think this team wins 11 games and makes the playoffs on this first wild card position.
See, that was a strong case. When I asked Sean Stanley to make his case, he started basically telling me all the problems, and then I came away, oh my God, we're going to win 6 games this year.
I'm a glass half full guy, Alex.
I can tell that about you. Now, the latest thing that people are freaking out about, and apparently Mike Florio is already talking about this. Oh, I hope nobody let Colin Cowherd see this, because he's doing his whole show on it right now. The Dolphins have named their 5 captains for the 2021 season, and I would treat a captain's list for the Dolphins the same way that I treat their week 1 depth chart is. You're wasting your time overanalyzing it, because Flores comes from that Belichick school of thought. But 5 captains, none of them are named Tua Tagovailoa. Should people be concerned that your franchise quarterback is not one of your 5 captains?
This comes from the book of motivation. Comes from the Floresian model of show me before I give it to you. You know what I mean? It's like this man comes from an upbringing where you got to bring it home to get the accolade. It's what are you going to do? So let's go over the list. What has Jesse Davis done? Absolute fantastic leader, veteran, spokesman in the locker room. Look, is he the best lineman in the league? No. Is he the best lineman on the team? Debatably no. It's the offensive line, so what could you say? But Mac Hollins, absolute workaholic on the football field. He earned his spot, not just on special teams. This man's going to get some targets this year, and it's not just because of the injury. He's proven that. Landon Roberts, he is such a good player at his specialty in terms of getting a running back behind the line of scrimmage. He does that to the point of sonic boom. You hear it, and I love it. And I can't even imagine how his motivational speeches are in the locker room. That's the guy I want to listen to. There's many. Him and Jerome Baker getting the linebacker room up. I want to see that. The trend continues, Alex, with former Patriots becoming captains, with Jason McCourty joining Landon Roberts as captain. We saw Kyle Van Noy last year as a captain, and Clayton Pendulum, albeit the safety role that he played was not terrific at times. He's a special teams ace. He's a guy that the teammates rely on. He's a team guy. He's a captain in leadership sense. In terms of the skill players, I love the fact that you don't have a Devontae Parker, a Preston Williams, Jakeem Grant, a Jalen Waddle, a Tua Tagovailoa. I love the fact that these guys are not captains because they have to prove that in 3-4 years they could be captains. In 2 years, they're still young. So I have no problem with this list. And if Bobby McCain was still on the team, he'd be a captain.
He would be.
And they had 8 last year. So this is perfect.
By the way, I see this comment. I don't know if this is true. I hope it's true. Rafa in Miami writes in, saw a tweet that Tua turned it down. Is that true then? I'm guessing by your expression, you don't know anything about this either. I would love it to be true because honestly, Jason, if Tua Tagovailoa was offered captaincy and turned it down, that is like King Solomon type wisdom right there. Like, he could then say, you know what? I don't even want it because I need to prove it. I mean, it's like, if that he is the one true king, if that's true, right? It's like when King Solomon was going to cut the baby in half, he knew the real mother would say, I do not want any harm to come from this child. And that was how he realized this is the true mother. Tua is the one true captain. If he's so wise, he doesn't even want the captaincy. It's like something I always say, Jason, about politicians. The person who would make the best president of the United States
is the one who turned the job down.
Yes. Exactly. So so you know what? If there's any truth to that, Tua is my one true captain. He is beyond wise.
So he's like the unseed seed. I'm not a spiritual man or a religious man, but now I might be after that King Solomon reference.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
And for you Game of Thrones fans, remember, Jon Snow did not want to be king. And he was probably the most worthy of that job. Didn't want any part of it. Now, the final episode of Game of Thrones was awful, but Jon Snow, his wisdom, he did not want to be the king.
I haven't seen that yet.
I just spoiled it for you. My apologies. Don't
I
even.
know the Snow King or someone dies or something. I don't know.
The Snow King. Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. So moving on to the matchup this weekend with the Patriots. Now, something that I'm going to be interested in watching with the Patriots all season long is the tight end duo, right? Because Belichick, he's trying to recreate what he had when he had the serial killer and Rob Gronkowski playing together back in the day. So he's got now Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. What do the Dolphins need to do to contain them? Now, I'm glad Tom Brady's not their quarterback, but theoretically, having a tight end duo like that is going to create some mismatches.
The 3 guys that I'm looking at are Eric Rowe, Nick Needham, Javon Holland, because they're the guys in the middle of the field that are going to have to probably deal with them the most. And then let's see what happens with, the rotation of other safeties like, a Brandon Jones, what have you. But I think that the slot, that area, Nick Needham could get a beneficial interception. Javon Holland, same idea. Eric Rowe, same idea. Because the outside is going to be locked down. I mean, we just know that. Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar versus Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. That's like the 60s Yankees versus like these days Bad News Bear. I mean, that's just, come on. I mean, it's like nothing. It's unfair. So I don't even think Mac Jones as a rookie should look their way. I really should. I really am going to focus on the middle of that field and have one of those bang, bang plays where maybe Jonnu gets it, Eric Rowe hits him, boom, Javon Holland gets his first pick of career. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for how they trick up Mac Jones by really maybe no fault of his own, but by just expecting who he's going to use. I guarantee the heavy targets are going to those 2 tight ends because the Dolphins usually have some trouble with that. And big-time tight ends did take advantage of them last year. Darren Waller kind of abused. That was – we won the game, but could have lost it easily because of Waller. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those three guys to really kind of set the tone.
You're right. We won that game, but it took a Fitz miracle to win that game. Now, you talked a little bit about Mac Jones there. Your overall impressions of him, because obviously he had a good enough camp, and the media loves this guy. Like he's not played a single snap in the NFL, but if I listen to ESPN, he's already better than Tua apparently. So it's the media love this guy, and Belichick, he did choose him over Cam Newton. So what are your expectations, even if not for just this game? Because the first start for a rookie quarterback is always an interesting one. But how good do you think Mac Jones is going to be as an NFL quarterback?
These quarterbacks are so hit or miss. Before getting into Mac, I mean, let's look at some of the number ones, number twos. You know, Jameis Winston has not necessarily hit yet. We've seen Marcus Mariota gone. We've seen so many quarterbacks just switch over, you know? So I really don't know how to evaluate a middle of the round, first round quarterback. Josh Rosen's floating around practice squads and trying to make teams, you know? So I think he could be good, but his weapons are good. His coaching is fantastic. But look, if the Dolphins defense is elite as they are advertised and played last year with these enhancements that we spoke about, I think that Flores should be cooking up a plan to make Mac Jones's debut the worst day of his football life, frankly. Because he's probably had a very cushy football life. Think about it.
Yeah.
When was the last time Mac Jones had a problem on a football field?
Probably high school. if even then, who knows? I don't know. I didn't watch him in high school.
Maybe in Pop Warner, he got his bell rung as a 12-year-old and said, you know what, never again. But it's time for the big boys to say hi, Mac. And if he shreds this Dolphin defense, the next time I'm on the show, I'll give you a better appraisal of Mac Jones. But I think he's going to have a long afternoon. I'm not saying I'm not guaranteeing a win. It's going to be a close game. But I think he's going to have a tough day.
Yeah, and the Dolphins are a 3-point underdog, and if people if they subscribe to the kind of the unwritten rule that in the NFL the home team gets 3 points, then it's basically a pick'em game, is what Vegas is telling you there. So it's a toss up of a game, okay? And I like this comment from Bishop Sycamore's Finest, which is my favorite username here out of the people who comment. Bishop Sycamore's Finest. He brings up the flip side because I asked you about the Dolphins covering the Patriots tight ends, and yet to be fair, the Dolphins create a lot of mismatches. Who on the Pats, he says, will completely defend our two tight end sets and our speed at wide receiver? That's the real question. And obviously no Will Fuller in this game, unfortunately, but you know, we have all the other speedsters available to us, Jason, for this game. So how do you see the Dolphins offense and all of that speed and a weapon like Mike Gesicki creating mismatches for the Dolphins offense?
Well, I love this Dolphin offense and basically modeling on how the Patriots built their success. Two tight ends, 12 personnel. You look across the league, guy named Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in a similar offense with the Buccaneers. Two tight ends, Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate. Baltimore has had success. The Eagles have had success. So the Patriots know how to defend it because they practice against it every day. So that's a great question, and it's a little fearful. But I need people to grasp the fact that Gesicki's a slot receiver just labeled a tight end. Like, he's not a tight end. I mean, he is, but he's not. So Durham Smythe and Hunter Long in a set together, that would be, I think, a great question to kind of answer. That I think the Patriots are going to know how to defend. Yeah. But Gesicki really brings so much to the table with his athleticism that I think that he's just really an X factor and a separate entity. But if I do see a traditional kind of two tight end set, the Patriots with their D, and they have Belichick scheming, probably could neutralize that. So I will look for a lot of creative ways, motions, Jalen Waddle in motion, Gesicki in motion a lot. He did that last year, even if it's just decoy. So let's see if this is just the chess match that I believe it's going to be. Maybe 1917, 2021, something like that.
I like it. And by the way, you were in town a couple weeks ago, right? Did you have a good time?
Oh, man, it's like heaven when I'm down there. It is such a blast. A Northeasterner down and like going to dinner at Las Olas. Come on. I mean, What's better? 15 feet away from a gorgeous field at Baptist training. It's luxury life, but very lucky to spend some time with the wife down there.
Living the life. Jason Sarney. Check him out at finmaniacs.com. And what's the Twitter handle? I want to make sure people know where to follow you.
Thank you, sir. It is Jason_Sarney over on Twitter. And we are here. Week 1 is upon us.
I love it. I can't wait. Enjoy the game on Sunday, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Always a pleasure, Alex. Thanks for having me. Have a great one.
Awesome job. And yeah, make sure you guys check out finmaniacs.com. I like this from Out of Many One. And I imagine he's saying this in a Jim Morris Sr. voice. Super Bowl? Super Bowl? What's Super Bowl? Wanted to make the case, guys. Crazier things have happened. Oh, and see, this is coming in. So apparently Zach Wilson is one of the Jets captains. Jalen Hurts, as you read there, is a captain for Philly. And and this is the problem. So you see some other unproven quarterbacks, even a guy like Zach Wilson, who's a rookie. And I was watching Zach during preseason. He looked pretty good. Not going to lie to you. Preseason, of course. But he looked pretty good in the preseason. I'm more of a Zach Wilson believer now than I was a month ago. But yeah, you're seeing other unproven quarterbacks, lesser proven quarterbacks even than Tua, getting given captaincies, and Tua's not one of the Dolphins' 5 captains. So people are going to read so much into it. Captains of NFL teams, one of the most useless things. If you're the captain of an NHL team, that means something. You're the captain of a big soccer club, preferably Europe, because nobody cares about MLS. But if you're the captain of a European soccer club, that means something. But to be one of the 5 captains of an NFL team, who cares, bros? The captains sometimes even change throughout the year. This could be a motivational tactic not to make Tua a captain, or, as Rafa in Miami pointed out, he might have even turned it down because Tua's even farther ahead, right? The person you want most as president of the United States is someone who does not want to be the president because they don't want that sort of responsibility and they don't want to have it if they haven't earned it. So yeah, if Tua really did turn down the captaincy, that tells me all I need to know. He is the most qualified. Wasn't the whole legend, Sean? Are you literary smart in a way I'm not? Like, what was the whole legend of King Arthur? Because I remembered I watched the cartoon when I was a kid, The Sword and the Stone, the old Disney cartoon. King Arthur was this like scrawny, gangly kid. He didn't think he was worthy to be the king. And then you have all these big burly bros trying to pull the sword out of the stone, and no one could do it. And then scrawny ass King Arthur, who didn't even think he was worthy, he yanked that sword right out of the stone, and he was the rightful king. Tua is the King Arthur in this equation. I'm getting pure silence from Sean Stanley. You don't read literature?
What about me says I read literature?
I don't know.
It took you 7 minutes to read that article. I'm still trying to read the article.
He's still reading the David Eversole article. For those who are at a higher than a 6th grade reading level, it's like a 5-minute read. It took me 7 minutes. David writes in, someone can always ask Tua if he turned down the captaincy. I'm sure someone will. I guarantee you, like Joe Shad is going to be on that. He's going to be on that, my friends. It's been a really fun show today. Want to say thanks again to Jason Sarney for joining us, talking everything Dolphins. Want to say a huge thanks to David Eversole for joining us, even though he wrote an article that it hurt me because it was about the Miami Hurricanes not being the program they were 20, 30, 35 years ago. I still read it. He made some good points, compelling points. I just hope we can change it and bring Miami into becoming a powerhouse of a program again in the future. Huge thanks to Sean Stanley in the back. And guys, I want to remind you a couple things. Get in with our partners here on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Now, it is possible to draft season-long teams after week 1 begins, but you probably want to get on that before tomorrow night. And I highly recommend our fantasy football partner, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy, it is the best and easiest place to play fantasy football for big cash prizes, because that's what we're all looking for, my friends. We're all looking for those big cash prizes. On Underdog Fantasy, you just draft. No need to worry about waivers, lineups, or injuries. Underdog handles all of that for you. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app. Then you draft a season-long best ball team, and that's it. No in-season management. They're going to give you $25 when you sign up So you can take a free shot at a $1 million grand prize in their fantasy football tournament. That's right. You can get a free $25 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy if you use our code 5RSN when you make your first deposit. Underdog is so easy to use. The mobile app is awesome. Their website is user-friendly. So do what I've been doing. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com, join a league, draft a team, and that's it. You're good for the season. Remember, go to UnderdogFantasy.com, the App Store or the Google Play Store. Sign up with our code 5RSN and get $25 in bonus cash. Now, my friends, we have the opportunity coming up because starting Thursday, it is what I like to call Wager Palooza, when we're going to have all the college football games and all the NFL games added into the equation. BetUS.com is going to be your best friend this football season. And I make international soccer bets as well. I was one short of my parlay yesterday. I've got a 7-team parlay today and a straight bet on England at -150 today. I'm feeling very good about that. You're going to have so much fun betting all football season long with us at our official sports book, BetUS.com. It's so easy to sign up. And BetUS.com, they are known as America's favorite sports book. And a big reason for that, well, there's a couple reasons, a few reasons. There's 100 reasons. But one reason for it is they have odds on anything you can imagine. Sports, horses, pop culture. And they have odds on sports at BetUS you can't find in some other places. The reason why I discovered BetUS a while back was I was looking for college lacrosse odds. They didn't have it on the sports book I was using. They had it at BetUS.com. They have everything. And of course, that includes NFL football and college football, international soccer. Their customer service is second to none. This is one of the big things, guys, that separates BetUS from the competition. Every client of BetUS, they give you the VIP treatment. You have your own individual customer service rep assigned to you. Mine is Carla, and she is awesome. So if you have any questions about anything, there's a live chat feature. There's a 1-800 number. She's always at the end of the phone to help you out. They're never going to leave you high and dry to answer all of your questions. So you really do feel like a VIP when you use BetUS.com. And if you sign up, use our code 5RSN125, and they give you a 125% sign up bonus. So for example, if you deposit $100 with a credit card, you have your deposit plus $125 of free play money right there available to you. So you want to get on it, BetUS.com, the official sports book of Donno Daily, and let's all have fun making wagers this football season. So again, huge thanks to everyone who showed up in the comments today. Make sure you smash that like button and you subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I see the subscribing numbers going up, and it's not just me, of course. There's a ton of great shows on 5 Reasons. The Miami Heat coverage, Dolphins, Canes, all of it is second to none, my friends. So make sure you subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports on YouTube, and we will talk to everyone again next time. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 noon, for another episode of Donno Daily. Oh, Big John Stud gets in right at the end. Hello, Big John Stud. You were just in time for a shout out, my friend. And then Brooklyn Rob is saying, just don't take betting tips from Alex the Mush. I actually have done pretty well the last couple of weeks. And on Friday, we're going to have our guy Lee Sterling giving us betting tips for the weekend. So we'll go over some NFL stuff with him. So tremendous from everyone around. We will talk to you again tomorrow, 12 noon, right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.